Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers.
And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, another special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2025. I am Dave Bryan from SteelersDepot.com. It is Sunday, July 27th. It is approximately 7:15 in the evening. I am joined by Alex Kozora once again, fresh off of his fourth trip out to Saint Vincent College in Latrobe for Steelers training camp practices. He was able to stay, I guess, relatively dry today. We're probably not going to have as much to talk about maybe as we did in the first three episodes, but we'll recap everything the way that we normally do in this show, and then obviously go through the injuries and go through 7 shots at the end and start looking ahead to what's going to happen after the team's day off on Monday, which will be a Tuesday practice with the first time in pads. So with all that, Alex, happy Sunday. It is Sunday. It is the 27th of July. You're a quarter way through this now.
You're like my wake-up call from the hotel each morning. This is the day. This is the time. So appreciate the reminder there. I certainly need it because my days are all mixed up. Yeah, it was a slightly shortened practice. Thunder rolled in right at the end of practice, but only limited it by 5 or so minutes. And so I'm happy about that overall. Less to talk about in part because it's been 4 days, non-padded. You kind of have a good feel of who's aligning where. A little less eventful day today overall, but still plenty to talk about. And unfortunately, there are more injuries to discuss. Before we do that, Dave, let's shout out our friends over at Touring Plans.
Yeah, why don't you take a run at it today? Lynn Testa and our great fine friends over at Touring Plans, longtime sponsor of the special edition training camp editions of the Terrible Podcast.
Yeah, these are a great company and a great person in Len who works with us every summer. I get the emails saying you want to do the sponsorship, and I'm always game because it's just been a really good partnership for many, many years now. So if you are somebody who want to take the family on a trip to either Disney World or Disneyland or Disney Cruise Line, any of the Disney related programs and events and options, check out Touring Plans. They'll help you plan that trip, find the best deals, the best schedule, when the parks are at its busiest and whenever they're at its latest overall. So just to be a real tool in your tool belt to make those trips for the family, usually that one yearly outing, maybe in the summer right now or in the winter, or maybe you're visiting family at some point later this year, want to take a trip over. I was never into Disney myself. I really need to go. I was born in Hollywood, Florida, a couple hours away from Orlando, but never went. So whenever I do make that pilgrimage, I'll certainly reach out to Touring Plans and have them help me, and you guys should as well. So check out their website at touringplans.com. And again, thank you to Len Testa for his support.
I think me and my wife combined over all these years have been twice, and it was way before any of all this. I sure wish I would have had Touring Plans to help me with some of those long lines and an app and all like that. So if you're not already done so, go to touringplans.com and check out the site. Go ahead and bookmark it for your next upcoming Disney-related trip, and those fine folks at Touring Plans will take care of you there. So thanks again to Touring Plans and Lynn Testa. All right, Alex, let's get to the housekeeping portion of the show. The unfortunate thing that we're going to talk about is a few more injuries today, and I don't think anybody returned to practice. I could be wrong there, but I'll let you walk through the laundry list of players and the new ones that are added to the list on Sunday.
The only returning players were the vets getting the day off, which was Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Darius Slay, but that's, of course, not injury related. You had Jeremiah Moon did not practice off the calf injury early in yesterday's practice. Isaac Seumalo maybe did a little more jogging than usual, but still on NFI. Still have yet to spot Cordell Patterson. He did not practice today. Let's see. DeMarvin Leal did not finish practice. I watched him throwing up on the hill, so the heat got to him. It happens. It's been hot. It's been muggy. It's really not a critique, but unfortunate for him. He'll be fine for Tuesday, though, I'm sure. Unfortunately, have to check on Broderick Jones and Montana Lamonius Craig. And Broderick Jones, the notable name here, he was almost late to the first play of 7 shots, and he might have been getting taped up or something, but he had about 1 or 2 reps there and then bowed out. Mike Tomlin calling that a soft tissue injury. He did not finish, and same for Lamonius Craig. I don't know when Lamonius Craig bowed out. I did not see that happen until I wasn't alerted to it until Tomlin said something. Also should know the safety Quindell Johnson did dress today, but did not go through individual and did some, half-speed spirited jogging on the side. So he's going to work his way back. Hopefully will be good for Tuesday, but we shall see.
All right. We'll definitely keep an eye on a guy like Broderick Jones, and we'll have to see if there's any moves. Oh, we had a player carted off today as well, too, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have mentioned that as well. That's certainly going to be the big thing overall was DJ Thomas Jones, and I should add that to my report here. So maybe I can do that here in a second because I totally slipped my mind, and it shouldn't have because that's one of the guys I talked about pretty highly of through that undrafted free agent class, and he was the guy. I don't know when exactly it happened during team period, and he got his left ankle or foot looked at, and then was carted off, and Tomlin calling that a potentially significant injury. So unfortunate for Thomas Jones.
Yeah, we'll have to keep our fingers crossed for the undrafted free agent there, DJ Thomas Jones, and it's not uncommon, unfortunately, for this time of year for significant injuries, especially bottom guys near the bottom end of the roster that end up getting waived injured and then clearing waivers and then going to IR and then injury settlements from there. And Mike Tomlin, said it might be a little severe there, so we'll have to just wait and see by the time Tuesday rolls around, see if there's any transactions to report there. And once again, not surprising that the list is starting to grow a little bit when it comes to players missing time or some soft tissue injuries at the start of camp. And you just hope that you don't have any of those kind of season enders for, the more reputable guys, obviously, on the roster. And, not to downplay guys like DJ Thomas Jones, but those guys are obviously on the other side of things here. So we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed. All right, Alex, we covered, I don't think we have any transactions to talk about today as part of housekeeping. I do want to kind of start. There was a little brouhaha or a tiff or a skirmish or the media doesn't like when you call them fights, I don't guess. But regardless, we had a few people mixing it up today. What went on there?
Yeah, I think the heat getting to these guys 4 straight days. It's been hot. It's been humid. Guys, I'm sure are looking forward to the day off on Monday. It was a run play, and I saw Herbig come off a block and make a tackle, or not a tackle, but a tag, a stop. And a couple guys went to the ground. I know Ryan McCullum got his helmet torn off. I think Cole Holcomb was involved. I saw Nick Herbig at the bottom of everything. I don't know if he just kind of got caught up in the wash or was sort of involved in it too. So it wasn't anything crazy. It's always hard to phrase things on the fly. I do kind of get the idea of not calling it a fight. I'll only do that if guys are throwing punches, and no punches were thrown here. Everyone just kind of piled on top of each other and kind of wrestled around. So a little dust up, whatever you want to call it, but more of that probably to come starting Tuesday when the Pats come on.
Yeah, what did Mike Tomlin say specifically about that? These guys are just itching to get the pads on. At this point, let me see if I can find this within here. There is no doubt they're like racehorses. That's just the next step in this thing, and they're ready. So he says this team's ready to put the pads on and start hitting for real here. So all right, we'll start on the offensive line, I guess. Obviously, Broderick Jones missing a good portion of the practice. Interesting name coming in at left tackle for him, right?
That was Dylan Cook, who picked up first and second team left tackle reps in Jones's absence. And I know some might wonder why not Calvin Anderson coming in. Wasn't he signed back to be the swing guy? Well, as we mentioned yesterday, Calvin Anderson, Dylan Cook flip sides, and you had Anderson working right tackle the last 2 days, Cook left tackle. So instead of putting Anderson back at left tackle and taking away those right tackle reps, I'm sure the team would like him to get, if he's going to become that swing guy, just elevate Dylan Cook's reps instead. So I don't think that's indicative of necessarily Cook being ahead of Calvin Anderson, just kind of the logistics of practice, but big year for Dylan Cook. Talked about his camp, getting hurt last year, never was able to take that next step after being on roster all of 2023. Spent last year mostly on either on IR or the practice squad. So Dylan Cook getting extra reps is good news for a guy like Dylan Cook.
All right, what did that do to the rest of the lines? Well, you just said that Cook took first and second team reps, right?
Yeah, it didn't bump up Gareth Warren or anything like that. He remained third team left tackle. So really status quo along the offensive line. McCollum coming back, Sharping getting guard and a little bit of center work as well. But the lines really have been the same. And, just to reiterate the point that I've made many times before, and hopefully things are minor and it's camp and they're going to be cautious, but you're working today without your first team left tackle and without your first team left guard. A reminder of how quickly, depth can be called upon because injuries can pile up. We saw that last year. So we hope these young offensive linemen can play to potential and really make a case because O-line depth was one of my biggest concerns coming into training camp.
All right. And I guess Doug Nestor remains the guy that continues to flip left and right guard within these lines, right?
Yeah, let me check my notes here. Mostly right guard. I do have a couple notes of him at left guard too. It's been Broker kind of getting the squeeze as maybe an odd man out still. But yeah, Nestor's been getting both guard, spots work there. Stephen Jones has gotten that work at right guard and right tackle. Sharping's been getting left guard and center work as well. And so those are the guys that have been on the move along with the tackles and Cook and Anderson. So always notable when those guys start flipping and getting some extra reps.
All right. Anything from a performance standpoint with the offensive line worthy of talking about today?
Not too much, really itching for the Pats to come on. Tanu had his hands full with TJ Watt, who beat him clean on an inside spin on one rep, and then had an inside move that Tanu did a better job of mirroring and kind of staying attached to, but I would still give the win to Watt there. But it just, it's a good opportunity for Tanu to see a guy like TJ Watt get those reps and make him better. So you're going to take your lumps. That's natural. This is the time for it, and it'll make blocking that defensive end or outside backer on game day a whole lot easier when you're facing TJ Watt daily in practice.
All right, let's talk about the tight ends. Anything new? Anything to talk about with the tight end groups other than DJ Thomas going down?
Yeah, Johnny Smith catching his first touchdown pass in 7 shots, so that was nice. You had another nice hands catch by JJ Galbraith. Frymuth's been fine, but maybe relatively quiet overall. These things ebb and flow. So not a whole lot of notes overall, kind of more of the same. I think Washington has been more active, more involved the last 2 days. And Galbraith has been, I think, a really steady Eddie in terms of receiver, which is what I saw on tape, which had me encouraged and kind of calling him one of my sleepers coming out of South Dakota.
All right. How about the wide receiver position?
Yeah, a little bit of noise for Rock Taylor today. There was a really nice throw from Rudolph over the middle to Taylor. A little more action for guys like Brandon Johnson, maybe a little bit on Robert Woods. But I would say overall it's been just quiet for some of those number 3 beat back wide receivers in your Skoronix. Scotty Miller's been a little more active, but Robert Woods, not a ton of targets. I'm going to compile some stats for probably Tuesday morning. I'll start that tonight. Roman Wilson just been a quiet 4 days. And it's not that it's been bad, but just lost out in some contested situations. The deep ball yesterday, the final play, 7 shots today was good coverage from Deshaun Elliott, but you want to see Wilson come down and make some plays and make some tough catches. I think it'll come at some point. We are still pretty early in this whole thing, but pretty quiet start to training camp for Roman Wilson.
What was the largest pass completion today? Do you have an idea what that is?
That's a good question. I don't know if there really was anything super downfield. I know Lance McCutcheon, Brandon Johnson, probably late the final team period. Rudolph booted out to the right, one of those kind of flat, and then the backside crosser comes as your second read, and Rudolph progressed low high and hit Johnson on the crosser, and they kind of blew the whistle dead. He could have kept running, so it's probably a 15, 20-yard game, but nothing too crazy downfield today.
All right, how about the running backs? What's going on with Caleb and Jalen Warren and the guys behind him?
Pretty status quo there. Johnson did have 1 drop on a check down from Rudolph out there in the left flat and clanked off his hands. He kind of clapped his hands. Now he's got to make that catch. And so talk a lot about Caleb Johnson as a runner. I think he's pretty confident about what he can do there. The question will be on things like pass pro and catching the ball cleanly, things he didn't do a ton of at Iowa. I know Mike Tomlin spoke about some of the battles he wants to see when the pads come on. He'll backs on backers, a big moment there for Johnson, but also mentioned some other guys like Kenneth Gainwell and Peyton Wilson in the receiving drill, one-on-one coverage drill. And so that'll be a fun matchup too.
All right. Quarterbacks. Better day or about the same?
Yeah, about the same. Not a banner day overall. I don't think it has been for the quarterbacks. The defense is certainly, like I said yesterday, has won every day at least. Well, I should say maybe not every day the defense has won, but pretty darn close. And in totality, the defense has been better than the offense. You had Mason Rudolph getting 2 passes batted down today. My only real kind of new takeaway is just it's not even a new takeaway. I know Pat Fryermuth has talked about it, and it's been evident for Aaron Rodgers. But that quick release, it's kind of funky the way that the ball comes out. It's pretty unique to him, almost kind of Marino-like with how fast that ball comes out. His ability to drop the sidearm when he has to kind of throw around some guys. So, that's kind of interesting with Aaron Rodgers.
All right. Howard have an okay practice. Walk us through. Let's take an opportunity to go through 7 shots at this point.
Sure. Yeah. I think Howard's been like, you can tell that he knows where to go with the football. It's not a lot of hold on to it and then take off and run around. There were a couple of throwaways today, some pressure, some guys not being open. But overall, I think he's processing well. He knows where to go with the football, is deciphering and not looking panicked or lost in the pocket. But 7 shots we will run through. First play was Aaron Rodgers finding Johnny Smith in the right flat for Smith's first touchdown at training camp. Next one was Metcalf in the slot, by the way. So Metcalf getting a slot rep and 11 personnel with Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin out wide, kind of ran an out route, basically, Metcalf did, but Thornhill had good coverage, and that one was kind of tipped away. The next one was a blitz where Rodgers quickly got the ball out to Pat Fryermuth for a touchdown. Next play should have been a touchdown. Mason Rudolph coming in had Max Hurlman open and dropped the ball, so that's a missed opportunity there for a young guy like Max Hurlman. Went right through his hands. A good throw by Rudolph. Next play was the pick by Brandon Eccles. This was Rudolph to the back left corner, and Eccles, I think, came off his assignment to find the ball and pick it off. I didn't tweet about it just because I wasn't sure initially if he had caught it or not. He caught it like a basket catch, but then I saw him doing push-ups after the play, so I thought maybe he dropped it and was doing the self-imposed push-up punishment, but I'm pretty sure he ended up catching it. Some other people kind of confirmed that, so nice job there by Eccles. Next play was Will Howard hitting Evan Hull in the right flat open for a touchdown. So for the third day in a row, you're tied at 3. Starters come back in. Rodgers in the pocket, nothing there. Looks left, comes back right. That was a throw to Roman Wilson that Deshaun Elliott had really good coverage and made sure that one was not going to be completed. So defense winning the day 4-2-3.
All right. Let's see. Any final observations or takes as far as the offense went today?
Just not a whole lot doing the pass game. Not a lot of big plays, some shorter stuff. Again, I think defense overall would say won the day.
All right. Let's go to the defensive line and had Cameron Hayward back in there. I would imagine nothing's changed but as far as where Wyatt Black and Logan Lee are lining up. I imagine you still have Dean Lowry getting some early snaps on this. What anything new with or is there any other person you want to talk about within this defensive line group that maybe we haven't spent time on in the first 3 shows?
Well, I think the first place is to go to Y.A. Black, and the position has not changed. Still running, defensive end, right defensive end in your base 3-4 with Lee at nose tackle, but two bat downs today for Y.A.
Nice.
Black, both on Mason Rudolph, and he was pretty amped up about that. I know Tomlin was asked and talked about that post-practice. Cam Hayward, his 11 pass deflections last season, Benton having interceptions. So, it's a moment where defensive linemen know they can't sack the quarterback, they can't touch the quarterback, and so you're a little less incentivized to rush as hard as possible, especially not being in pads. And so your focus is on finding other ways to impact plays, which is getting hands up in throwing lanes. And Black has the height to see over guys and the length, and can certainly kind of be a volleyball player at the net. And obviously Black is not a tremendous pass rusher himself, and so the best way he can still help in those moments is to maybe deflect some passes. Got his hands on 2 of them today, both by Rudolph. So I think you're seeing some good practices and good moments from Y.A. Black the last 2 days.
You had a note in there about Jacob Slade, I think, today. What was that about?
I think he got pressure on one, or would have had pressure like Stephen Jones was holding him. I don't know exactly how that whole play came about, but he's getting some left defensive end work in the base 3-4, a little bit of nickel reps. Obviously, it's going to be a tough path for a guy like Jacob Slade. I wouldn't say it was a great practice. I don't have that takeaway. I really don't have a clear evaluation on it overall, but he's still fighting. He's a guy that's been on the practice squad. He knows the team, knows the system. So you'd expect that guy to look a little better than maybe some other guys that are new to Pittsburgh.
All right. How about the inside linebacker position today?
Yeah, Peyton Wilson, good breakup in 7-on-7, either I think on Jonnu Smith or Pat Frymuth over the middle. He'll be fun to watch in that coverage drill because I know obviously the backs on backers gets talked about a lot, but there's a lot of one-on-one competition whenever they're in pads. It's not just that. It's going to be some coverage stuff, which is always slanted to the offense in those one-on-one coverage drills. But if a guy like Peyton Wilson can make some plays, then you can really turn your attention to that because defensive players typically lose in those moments, but Wilson is athletic overall. My only other kind of takeaway to kind of branch off your question about some guys we don't talk about as often. Devin Harper was getting some reps early the first day or two. It's been harder to find him lately as you're really in that deep rotation. Obviously, Queen and Wilson and Holcomb and Harrison and Robinson and Bruner, and you're really having Harper be that, I guess, seventh guy. And so just haven't seen much of him because it's just been tough to get playing time.
Yeah, he's the one that came over previously. He has a connection with the new inside linebackers coach from Dallas too, right?
He does. Scott McCurley was in Dallas when Harper was drafted by the Cowboys at Oklahoma State. Got a cup of coffee with them, so there is a connection there. But right now, not helping him get any playing time.
All right, Carson Bruner working into the lines before Harper or with Harper.
I would say ahead of Harper. Harper's that extra kind of add-on, kind of in that Deshaun Jameson mold of just trying to fight for anything he can during team. So, again, there's so much cycling and mixing and matching is my phrase at camp that it's hard to say first team, second team, third team. But I would say that Carson Bruner, Mark Robinson running pretty clearly ahead of Devin Harper right now.
All right, TJ Watt back in the lines today at outside linebacker. What do you have at outside linebacker today?
Yeah, the lines were getting thinner too because Moon was out. Watt did return, but Leal didn't finish. So you had some opportunities for guys like Wolshoff. A lot of reps for Jack Sawyer. He's been available and ready for it all, which is fantastic. Highsmith not always getting a ton of time here because he doesn't need it right now. So that's good. I continue to see some good practices from Aku Leota, beating Stephen Jones to the edge today, getting some pressure. So that's a guy that's undersized, but pretty good athlete overall coming out of Auburn and showing it the last couple of days.
Leota mostly been at left outside linebacker then?
Let me try to think. I know the rep I'm talking about with Stephen Jones was left outside today. I know I've seen him at right a little bit too. Through my notes today, it's probably been more left, but he's kind of flipped on both sides because you've had some of those guys miss a Leal, a Moon, Watt getting a day off, and so he's kind of been able to play both spots.
All right. Let's see. I'm excited to see Julius play some during the preseason again. He had a good preseason last year, so hopefully he'll probably get some burn in the second half of that first preseason game if healthy. Let's talk about the secondary. Brandon Echols showing up with an interception today. Sounds like did he have a pretty decent practice overall?
Yeah, I think he's had a nice start to camp. He's been that kind of forgotten guy. When you added Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey, Brandon Echols doesn't really grab the headlines, but, Slay getting the day off yesterday and Echols getting some work today. He still worked a good amount, even whenever the group's been fully available, running second team, and then today getting, first team reps still. So, yeah, it's been good for Brandon Echols. The interception was a really good way to kind of end the first 4 practices for him.
Where's Chuck Clark fitting in with the rotation? Is there any chance that he ends up jumping a guy like Thornhill?
No, I don't think right now. I think Thornhill, to give him his flowers, he's been around the ball all camp. I think Elliott and Thornhill have been really tight on a lot of throws over the middle, tipping stuff away in 7 shots. Thornhill did the other day. Elliott did today, throws over the middle. Those guys have really policed that space, I think, done a nice job of that so far. So I know I wasn't super thrilled with the Thornhill signing initially, and there's still a long ways to go. But I think both safeties, but Thornhill in particular, both been really active. Where's Clark fitting in? Probably call it, let me think here, second team-ish with Killebrew, kind of splitting. It's been Castro getting some reps and Clark splitting some reps with Killebrew, probably kind of calling those guys on the depth chart right now as Clark assimilates into this defense his first couple of days in. So that's probably how I would couch things right now.
All right. What kind of camp is Corey Trice Jr. having?
Yeah, I think it's been good. I think his coverage has been tight. He had a good day the other day. We had a breakup and a blanket coverage on another. So I think he's been solid. I think Joey Porter Jr. has been good and probably more aggressive on the football. Had a pick in 7-on-7 today. He's been more combative at the catch point. I know Jared Alexander, the DB's coach, one of his mission was play the ball more than play the man this year. Hopefully reduce those penalties, create those splash plays, and maybe seeing a little different side of Joey Porter Jr. now.
All right. Any significant happenings with Dante Kent, the rookie out of Central Michigan today?
Jumped off sides once, and so
Uh-oh.
that's a no-no there on a slot blitz where he mistimed it a little bit. I don't know how much he blitzed in college. Probably not a ton. He's playing on the outside his last couple of years at was it Central Michigan as well. So probably less foreign to him or more foreign to him, I should say. So yeah, that couple still some sloppiness overall. You had Fautanu false start where he got pulled out of a drill. One snap from Frazier, not the first one, but one of the snaps from Frazier still wasn't great. You had can't go offside, so a couple mistakes there from some young guys.
All right. So was this essentially another win for the defense for this practice today?
Yeah, I would say so. I don't know. I don't really spend a ton of time thinking about who won the day, which side, but defense won 7 shots. They didn't give up any big plays. The run game, it was more of a pass-focused day overall, but the run game didn't get a whole lot. There was one good screen pass to Jalen Warren, which would have been a big play, even in a live tackling session. But yeah, I would say the defense overall won by a little bit.
All right. Yeah. What was some of the more significant happenings in 11-on-11 portions?
Yeah, there really wasn't a whole lot in terms of the big plays. He had 7 shots, but we kind of already went over
All right.
that. And the Porter interception came in 7-on-7. There was the completion to Johnson, like I said, by the end of practice, the screen to Jalen Warren. There was a moment where, you had Rogers throwing a swing pass to, I think it was Calvin Austin, Jalen Ramsey on a blitz trying to leap up and bat it down and just miss. It's kind of fun to see those moments, those, Rogers against Ramsey and kind of that screen type moment there. But yeah, there really wasn't any like crazy play today that stuck out.
All right. Any special team developments today? Not as busy as they were yesterday, maybe?
Right, really more focused today on punt block, and so you had guys that would come off the edge, and the punter holds out the football to kind of simulate that stuff. No formal punting or kicking today. You'll be very happy to know that Chris Boswell, no kicking for him
All right.
today. Ben Sauls hasn't kicked. I thought he would in some of these kind of quieter moments in individual work. The special teamers come over near us, and that's when Boswell kicked yesterday. Sauls didn't today. Not really sure why, but they didn't. But yeah, nothing too crazy. I can give you some kick return names. You asked about that yesterday, kind of who might we see in the kick return line to have here in the preseason. Let me try to pull it up 1 second. Kick return, this is just a random assortment, not really in order, but Evan Hull, the running back Caleb Johnson, wide receiver Roman Wilson, cornerback James Pierre, running back Kenneth Gainwell, running back Trey Sermon, cornerback Beanie Bishop Jr., running back Jalen Warren, and cornerback Deshaun Jameson. Punt return lines remain the same.
Is it safe to say you've had a tougher camp so far than the specialists have?
They go we probably equally because they found some shade today, and I've been fortunate. Tim Rice usually gets there before me and saves me a spot, so I'm able to get some shade myself. But yeah, the life of a special teamer is pretty a-okay come training camp.
All right. Where do we go here? What's the best thing that you saw today?
Yeah, I got to go back to YA Black with the 2 bat downs. It's fun to see a rookie make some plays and use his size and length. And, for a guy that is getting creative, how do I win in kind of different ways and just being either the pure run stuffer he was kind of drafted to be, his reputation, or as a pass rusher, how do I do some different things? And I think Pittsburgh defensive linemen historically, or at least, the last decade or so, really 2 decades, have been known for a couple things. They run hard of the football. They play with fanatical effort. That was true of Aaron Smith and all the John Mitchell disciples, Stephon Tuitt, Cam Hayward, and they get their hands up in throwing lanes. They're going to be active at the line of scrimmage to disrupt and bat down some passes. Hayward, few better really in recent history than him, Tuitt as well. We talked about Benton. And so, nice to see Black have some of those same traits. He's shown good chase of the football. He's gotten his hands up in throwing lanes, and that's not a coincidence. Obviously, Pittsburgh is drafting guys who show those traits in college, and so those guys, are not beginning that journey in the NFL level. They were those guys in college, but nice to see kind of the next generation follow the same path.
All right, so safe to say it now, and we mentioned this yesterday. Through four practices so far, as they head towards first padded practice on Tuesday. It's been a nice start to camp for the draft class this year, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think all those guys have something to talk about. Maybe a little less for Carson Bruner, just because the reps have been a little more squeezed, and he's a guy that's physical and probably will shine the best whenever the pads come on. But yeah, I think the draft class has shown their stuff.
All right, you will not be out there on Monday. The team has the day off, and you will be. I think you said something about maybe a video or something like that. And so we'll have to. We definitely have some content coming to the site on Monday. Alex and I will have a full version of the Terrible Podcast. We'll kind of quickly recap what Alex has observed over the first 4 days of training camp practice. We'll get into some of the other he said, she said type going ons at this point. Maybe talk a little bit more about Chuck Clark and a few other items here that we have put off since not having a full show. Technically, I guess since training camp started there. But you will be back out there on Tuesday for the first padded practice. So within all that, we'll wind down this show for today. And as usual, you can follow me on Twitter/X at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast at gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate, SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button. Follow the directions that way. We have an app that you can go download as well too. We've got newsletters you can sign up for on the site to get alerts that way to anytime anything post or a recap every week. For those that have not taken advantage of that part of the site yet as well. So until Monday morning, when we'll be back with a full edition of the Terrible Podcast. Thank you for listening to the Terrible Podcast, a special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2025 with Dave and Alex.